So in trying to put the fuel pressure gauge on, I decided that it was going to be easier to take off the rocker panel cover and this panel right here, which is only 4 bolts, so that I could loosen my fuel filter, and these are the mounting brackets for it, so that I could pull it up to the top and disconnect the hose between the fuel filter and the Sniper Quadrajet, so that I could put the fuel pressure gauge in line with that, and it would be easier to work on because I could take it to the bench, put it in a vise, and do my fittings. It turned out to be a little bit more trouble than I thought, because I believe that there's screws here that clamp down on the fuel filter. I believe they're 5.5 millimeter, because I have tried every option that I have in that set of bits that has everything imaginable except a 5.5. And I finally got it loose, so I'm going to put the car down and pull that up on the top so that I can work on it. So there aren't very many good places to put this thing on and have it anchored good. I'm thinking that if I put it pretty much right there, it'll have to be zip tied to those hold downs for the valve cover. It won't be the most elegant solution, but I wonder if I should have had a angled connector there, because this hose is going to have to come up and kind of bend back down. Let's make it a little bit longer. It'll seat the gauge a bit lower, but it'll give me more flexibility in how to bend it. So I'm going to cut it somewhere near the end of this. It's hard to keep this aimed. Somewhere near the end of this. So I'm going to make a mark on there to where I want to cut it. Let's just do a little quick test here. See how much we can bend that line. Whether I think I can bend it. Yeah, that'll work. That's not even forcing it. So I'm going to cut it on the far end of this tape. And when I put it back in, I'm going to route it a little bit better. Right now, it's going in between these wires. I think coming over across the top and down through here is the best way to go, because right now I have it coming between a bunch of stuff here, and there's more room to get the filter up down here. So live and learn. But that's what next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to disconnect that from the throttle body, and then I'll do whatever I need to do to run this down and pull the fuel filter up so I can disconnect it there. So I already started to disconnect that, and as soon as I turned it a little bit, that thing sprayed gasoline pretty vigorously. Actually, I'm in a bad spot. I can't see the actual connection on the throttle body. So there it is right there. I'm going to try to show you this. I'm going to take paper towel, wrap it around that, and loosen it again. I don't know. I may have relieved all the pressure, so it may be pretty much a nothing burger. But we're going to wrap this around to prevent the spray from going everywhere. Hopefully I'll get most of it in the paper towel. So here we go. So you can see what I mean when I say I think the problem's not the fuel pump, because that still had a considerable amount of pressure under it. And I'm going to go take this gasoline soaked paper towel and put it outside so I don't have to smell the fumes and less of a fire hazard. So now that I've got that pressure relieved, I'm going to just take it off and pull the fuel pump or fuel filter up. So there's the fuel filter up where I can maintain it easily. And in this case, I'm not trying to maintain the fuel filter, but I'm trying to get this piece of hose that goes from the fuel filter to the sniper body off so that I can insert the pressure gauge in between there and prove to Holly that it's their throttle body unit that is the cause of my problems. Okay, I cheated because I did it off camera, but I already broke the fitting loose from the fuel pump using a crescent wrench and an 11/16 wrench on the end fitting. So now I can remove this hose. I can take it over to the bench where I can work on it. And when I put it back on, I will make sure that I route it down through all that mess of stuff. Doesn't want to swivel on there. Did I take off the wrong piece? I wonder if I needed to take that off. They both look like they could pivot. Size wrenches I need. This looks like the piece that one's not going to come off. Yeah, it's just that was bad. To tie that up there because there's still fuel in that filter. It didn't spill when it went down, but when I pulled it up and laid it level, it did. So since I have the nylon braided hose, not the stainless, which I didn't get because it is hard to work with to get under these fittings that it has to go under. So what I've done is I've taken the fitting off. I know that I want it to sit this way. So I've taken the fitting off the end of that because the T has one male and one female fitting. So I want to make sure I have the right one on the right side. Otherwise that gauge will be upside down. And one of the ways they say you can cut the braided hose is with a PVC tubing cutter. I happen to have one, so that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to try to cut it as square as I can. That's interesting because something didn't cut all the way through. Let's see if I can wrap this around a different direction and get it to cut. So there's stainless steel braids on the inside of those tubes, and that cut all but one tiny little spot. Unfortunately, that one tiny little spot is probably going to cause me to have issues with the frame. Yeah, it's like user error. I can tell you what happened. I wasn't careful, and this latch for the tool was catching in there, and I couldn't tighten it all the way. I hope you can see that. Yeah, you should be able to. But I don't want to refocus the camera. It was catching like that. And once I moved it out of the way, like that, I was able to cut all the way through it. It looks like a fairly clean cut. See if we can get the piece over all of this frayed stuff. I wasn't able to get it over all of it, all through the system, but let's try to push that on. Trying to make sure that I got it pushed all the way to the seat. Can't see it very well. Because of the lighting. A little light here on the side that I'm able to get on it, and it is pushed through. I don't know if, probably won't be able to see that. Let's see if I can get some light on it. It's so close I can't get the angle and the light. In there. but I believe it's all the way in. So what I've done is I've wrapped a piece of tape around the hose right at the base of this fitting, so that as I push the hose in, if I'm pushing this hose out of this fitting, there will be a gap showing some of the braid, and I'll know that I don't have a good seal. So I'm going to try to get this on video without getting my hands too much in the way, but this has to go down in there and be threaded in while holding this up so that it doesn't get pushed out. The first thing we want to do is lubricate it. Probably not going to be able to do this without being in the way, because I got to get that wait, no, maybe I can. The thread engaged before the nipple went into the tube, the hose. So I'm going to have to adjust this to move that up, because I'm already running into it. Let's see if we can get it to about there. I'm turning this, and the one below is not turning, so I do have to use the wrench. So far it's not pushing it out. Still not pushing it out. That appears to be a good connection, because we're all the way down on here and we didn't push the sheathing out of the connector. So I think we're good. This will bolt onto the throttle body. This goes into the pressure gauge, and I'll have to tighten those up. I don't have the wrench over here that fits that. So I'll have to go get it. It's a 3/4. Well, actually, it's bigger than 3/4 here. This one I need to use either the vise on it or an adjustable wrench, because I don't have a wrench that's that size. At least not up here. I might have one down in the workshop. But I'm going to go get that wrench. It's an 11/16. I'll just tighten that fitting down, and then we'll proceed to the next one. The plastic jaws I have in there to protect that are allowing it to turn, because I had to have it up high enough that I could fit the wrench on it. So here goes a bit of, oh well, it's going to be a little bit nicked. Maybe more than a little bit. They already are a bit nicked because of not having the correct A-N fitting wrenches, but that's that for now. Next we'll take off the other side, and I don't think I'm going to video it because it's just more of the same. Pushing this into this fitting, spraying it, and inserting it. So I'll shut the camera off and do that, and I'll be back when I'm done and ready to put it on the car. So there's where I have it connected into the throttle body. Goes to the pressure gauge, and then I haven't put the filter back in the bottom yet because I want to check for leaks before I do that. But it's time to turn it on and see what happens to the pressure gauge. Okay, now there's air in that line, so I'm not sure this is the final reading, but it's showing 10 psi. Remember that, like I said, there's air in the line because the filter was half empty. The line was half empty, or completely empty. So I'm going to try that again, cycling it on and off a few times before I panic here. Check that right there, see what it's reading. And I think it's falling back down. Well, it's a little over 20. 21 and a half maybe. Again, check for leaks. I'm smelling gas. So it's only showing 20 psi, but if it's trying to compress air in there, that may not be accurate. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure, is I'm going to crack that open at the throttle body. I'm going to do it off camera. But I'm going to crack it open there and bleed any air out. See if that helps. Okay, I bled off some air and not a drop of fuel came out, so air in the line can be the problem. Okay, I'm going to do that again off camera until I get fuel coming out. Because I know the air will compress a lot easier than the fuel. Okay, I bled off more air, put it all the way down to 0 this time, and not a drop of fuel came out yet. So I think we're still filling up the lines. Okay, I'm going to bleed off some more air. I can't read the gauge from over there, but it's up to almost 20. Couple drips of that fuel that time, bleeding it down to 0. Not much. think those tiny pops you hear are trying to spit fuel out. Let's see, I'm still not up to anywhere near where I should be with the pressure. Not quite 20 pounds. I guess I could have a clogged fuel filter. And what I need to do in order to do that is take this off and see if I have these are both male ends. I need two, I'm sorry, female ends. I need two male ends in order to connect that to the fuel pressure gauge without the fuel filter in line. I just happen to have a two female end connector in my little drawer over there, so I will be able to do that test. I'm going to put this in place of the fuel filter basically because it has two male ends, and test the fuel pressure without the filter in place.